watching the Potsy and Tino show.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, every time I watch that one, it catches me off guard. You were watching the Potsy and Tino show, like Roderick Strong, our favorite former AEW, one of their champions. I don't even know which championship he had at this point, but you're watching the Potsy and Tino show. He's Tino Gray. I'm Rob Potsy Potchak. The theme song is brought to you by it's called the Wrestling Song, and it's available for what, Tino?
99 Jones.
99 Jones. Did you hear that Taz used the Jones line this week? I don't even know what he said before it, but he said Jones.
Me neither. I was going to ask you if you heard what he said, but he said Jones after he said it.
I watched it like 4 times and I couldn't figure it out. It was after the two guys went into the corner and got like thrown into the railing. He's like, Railing Jones or something like that.
Something all I heard was Jones. I did too. I tried to rewind it. I was like,
exactly. I tried to. What's going on, Michael Turner? I tried to sit there and pull it up multiple times, and I still could not figure out exactly what. Because I think Tony Schiavone was talking over him.
Yeah.
So I didn't get to hear it. But
it was awesome.
We are the Potsy and Tino show. We're here almost every week. In fact, for the last 7 or 8 years, we've been here for almost every week. Tonight we've got some sad news. There's a WWE Hall of Famer that passed away tonight. Tino, does he get the 10 seconds?
Yeah, because he is technically in the Hall of Fame. So it's WWE, so it is wrestling related. So we'll give him the 10 seconds.
Let me go ahead and put him up there, Pete. So here we go. The Big Red Machine, Pete Rose.
All right, ready?
Yep.
Here we go. That's it.
So, all right, folks. Pete Rose passed away today. Tino, do you have any Pete Rose stories?
Just him getting tombstone by Kane. I think my favorite tombstone they did by Kane when he was dressed up. I think it's a chicken or it was something, and he tried to jump. He tried to come out
San Diego Chicken at one point for whatever reason. You're right.
He tried to because he was trying to trick Kane. I think it was a year after he first got tombstone. So he came out to mess with Kane, and Kane ripped the head off and figured out who it was and tombstoned him again.
Then they ended up doing even another tombstone with him at like a later WrestleMania for whatever reason.
But that was the thing for a while, is him getting tombstoned by Kane.
The fact of the matter is that Pete Rose, for anybody that doesn't know him, and I actually have I met Pete Rose story, by the way.
Oh wow.
Yeah. When I went to Vegas for the GameStop manager show one year, Pete Rose would always, so the Venetian in Vegas would always have like multiple sports memorabilia stores inside its little mall area. And Pete Rose, like every day of the week, would be at one of these. And it was because people are visiting all the time. Why not have Pete Rose out there? But what Pete Rose was really doing it for was so that he had gambling money.
Yeah.
And I wish that really wasn't the case, but that's why he was doing it. It was because he liked to gamble. So I walked, I was like, holy crap, Pete Rose is here. And I walk up and I asked Pete Rose, I was like, any way I can get a picture? And he's like, sure, as long as you buy one of the pieces of merchandise over there. Well, the cheapest thing he had was like a baseball bat for like $400.
Oh my God.
Well, again, I mean, think about what this guy's gambling habit probably was, right? So I sat there and I was like, because when I walked up to him, I was like, "You were my dad's favorite baseball player." Not
Mhm.
that that's insulting, but I guess it is insulting when you're, like I was probably 28, 29 at the time, and Pete Rose is sitting there 60 something at the time,
Right.
and basically going, "Gee, thanks, kid." Like,
Yep.
and that was like what came out of his mouth was, "Gee, thanks, kid." So I proceeded to take a picture from further out. So it was me taking a selfie on my cell phone of me with Pete Rose just being like in the background.
All pissed off and bitter.
And he was so mad because like nobody was sitting there going, "Hey, you can't take that picture." And I was like, "Snap." So I got a picture of and then I even like trimmed it down to where it was just Pete Rose, and he's just like, and he just looks
Terrible.
like an old curmudgeon. But
Terrible.
but Pete Rose, probably the greatest hitter in Major League Baseball history. I mean, still to this day, what was it, 4,291 hits or whatever,
Yeah.
something like
Something
that.
like
Like
that. Something.
I mean, nobody is ever going to eclipse that at this rate because nobody plays that many games. Nobody plays for that long. The downside to his career, unfortunately, is that he decided that gambling was as important as baseball to him, and he claimed all the way to the end that he never bet against his team, but that didn't mean that he didn't bet more on his team when they thought that they had a better chance of winning.
Yeah.
And the FBI had their investigations and everything proved that he had been gambling on baseball games and everything else, was banned from baseball, and apparently the only way that they could bring him back was with credit card companies. Like Citibank actually brought him back as like the major sponsor of like the top 100 baseball players ever, and he was one of the top 10 because of where he sits as the hits leader in baseball.
Mhm.
But all things considered, it's pretty crazy to think that we lost Pete Rose today. We also lost Dikembe Mutombo yesterday, which not really anything pro wrestling related, but I do remember him from the Geico commercials going, "No, no,
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 no, no, no.
not in my house."
I love those.
They were great. So we lost, and then you mentioned that we lost Chris Christopherson as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, from the comic book side, he was Whistler in the Blade movies. He was also a pretty well known country music singer. So, but Pete Rose to me is the big one of the three of them that we lost. Obviously, has the wrestling ties and everything else. So I thought it was important that we gave him a couple flowers tonight for that. Tino, I'm going to jump right in to our normal segment of What's Up With You and let you go ahead and jump in with what's been going on.
Not a whole lot's been going on. The only thing I can really say that's been going on is that's aggravating me is we're still, because of all the rain and all the weather, my backyard still looks terrible.
You
Terrible.
ready to have you ready to have mud wrestling back there, huh?
I literally can. I literally can. So that's about it, man. Let's see. This weekend we are playing in town. Actually, we just picked up a gig. Morrisville Woodies. We'll be there Friday night. That's in Morrisville, North Carolina. If you guys are around, we'll be there 9:30 to 12:30. That will be me and the boys from Social Casualties, minus the bass player. So we're going old school. It's just going to be the trio Friday night because the bass player couldn't make it. And that's about it. Do we have wrestling? I think we got
We do.
wrestling this weekend.
We do. We've got Bad Blood on Saturday.
So we got to figure
So
out what's
we're
going
gonna
on
have
there.
you're gonna have to pull up the the card. Apparently, the card's supposed to be finalized at this point.
We've still got 2 more shows, so I don't know how.
Well, I think that from what I heard today, they might have announced other stuff that's going to be announced for the card, but the card should be finalized. Specifically, if you look at WWE.com. So Michael just said that yes, Bad Blood is Saturday, and it's at 6 p.m.
Yeah. So is there going to be? And I can't remember. Is there going to be a NXT pay-per-view then as well on Sunday?
No,
'Cause
and
usually that's
I
what they
think
do.
I think they're doing like what would have been an NXT pay-per-view or PLE tomorrow, because tomorrow is NXT on the CW.
Hmm.
So and they've got a women's title match and the men's title match for tomorrow night. So we should probably pull up both if you can. Like if you can pull up multiple tabs on your phone
Yeah,
for that.
I'm looking at. Okay, so that
So
looks like
so not a lot going on with you, huh? How's Matthew doing with football?
yeah. He's aggravated because he didn't get to play a lot, and so he's like, "Oh, won't play." So you can't quit, sir. You got to finish out the season. So
He got to put more practice in.
yeah, but you can't tell.
You
You
know,
can't tell.
interestingly enough, so obviously I'm a Notre Dame football fan, right?
Hmm.
So you've heard the name Brian Urlacher, right?
Uh-huh.
So his son plays for the Notre Dame football team, but his son is a true freshman. So his son gets cleanup and scrap time in most of the games, right?
Right.
But he's playing on the special teams side. And this week, so since every time they put this, I think his name's Tristan Urlacher. It might not be Tristan, but it's Urlacher. When they put him in the game, the kid is all over the football field and he's making plays almost every time. And this week they put him in for punt coverage and he recovered a punt, like a fumbled punt.
Right.
So once again, his name is on the score sheet because the kid just keeps making plays. And
Hey.
his dad was like a multi-time pro, like Pro Bowler. He's gonna go into the Pro Football Hall of Fame, all that stuff if he's not already there. But like, it just goes to show you, like, take advantage of your time on the field, do what you can,
Yeah.
make the most of it, right?
Yeah.
So Tino, my week has been, for lack of a better term, fucking crazy.
Yeah. Sounds like it.
Well, even at work. So the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services is getting ready to launch a portal so that when it comes to vital records, like all of the funeral directors and medical certifiers and everybody else can log into a certain portal, and at some point they're going to start being able to like put their birth certificates, death certificates, everything through that, right? So about Monday of last week, I got told, hey, on Wednesday, we're going to start working on this and it goes live next Tuesday. Well, there was like 15 job aids that had to be done. And you know how many of them had my name next to them? 11
Oh God.
of the 15. Yeah.
Hey, that something just breaking just came across from Fightful Select. I'm gonna let you finish that.
No.
Uh,
Go
Kill,
ahead.
Kill Switch Luchasaurus was hospitalized this past weekend with pneumonia in both of his lungs. Fightful Select is told he was found collapsed and rushed to the hospital. He is recovering and is on oxygen. His in-ring return is unclear at the moment. So we want to say prayers to Luchasaurus because that's nothing to play with, and that's real life. That's not wrestling angle apparently they found him collapsed.
No, obviously that is a behind the scenes, like, for those, for for those paying attention, Luchasaurus
He's still
hospitalized.
yeah.
I'm gonna say right now that it's tough to really say anything about. We don't really have any other information. It's good to know that was caught. It's good to know that he's actually on oxygen. That he's actually, like, because obviously when you have you said pneumonia,
In both his lungs.
so obviously that's normally like a lot of liquid in the lungs.
Yep.
And not getting a lot of actual air to and from. It makes me worry about his living situation, because, like, typically that type of thing is either because you have you and I both use CPAPs, right? So if you have a dirty CPAP, if you have one where the hose is actually shoving water instead of just the moisture, like, you can get that in your lungs. It could also be things like way too much vaping, because that's water in the lungs. Could be any number of things. But, like you said, I'm just going to say thoughts. You can say thoughts and prayers. Let's keep Luchasaurus in our thoughts, because the last thing we'd like to see is another Brody Lee thing, right? He is a talent. I think that at some point he's going to be a top talent. I don't know where he's going to be a top talent. Obviously, they keep pushing him to the back. I hate it, because we've wanted him versus Christian Cage for a long time. But from the Potsy and Tino show, thoughts my side, thoughts and prayers from your side. We're hoping that Luchasaurus can get healthy and make a full recovery, because we hate seeing this.
Yeah.
So thank you for bringing that up. I'm going to go back to what's up with us.
Well, you were saying something about your work. Sorry.
Yeah. So I started with the Department of Health and Human Services. We had a big project. It beat my ass for like 3 straight days. Unfortunately, I had already requested today off for other things. I had a doctor's appointment today, stuff like that. So I wasn't able to be there today, but hopefully they were able to get everything done for the launch. And there's that. On a couple other sides, Mark Spears Monsters #1 through Keen Spot. Second print, you had to put in your orders today to be able to get copies of that book. Second print numbers are looking good. We had shops that wanted to do exclusive covers for that, so keep an eye out for your local comic book shop to see whether or not they actually had a special cover for them for the second print of that book. By the 10th of this month, 7th of this month, I think, Die Hard #2 covers need to go in for all of that as well. I did want to say, Tino, that I went and saw a movie this week that I was really impressed with, visually and the message of it. You may have heard of it. I'm not sure. It's called The Wild Robot. It's the new movie from DreamWorks. So the same people that did Shrek, same people that did a couple of the other films like that. It's basically about a robot that gets turned on after it ends up randomly on a part of the planet And when it comes to life, all it wants to do is complete its tasks. But then it finds that like the animals don't want it to help complete the tasks. So it's got to
Mhm.
figure out a way to complete the tasks and help the animals. And it's basically looked at as a monster. It's really hard to describe, but at one point during it, it ends up finding like a goose egg, and it turns out that the goose is going to be the runt of the litter,
Mhm.
and teaches the goose how to do all the things the goose needs to do to be able to migrate when it gets cold, right?
Okay.
And I mean, it's very like to me, it was one of those movies that's quite deep. What does that sound?
What's that?
Like, is it like I keep hearing something that just sounds like there's like a crowd in the background almost. Okay, maybe it's just me. Um, but the movie does a really good job of like explaining how families help each other,
Right.
and does a really good job with that. And it's one of those films that like grown men like you and me, we get to the point where like you might get a tear in the eye, but you don't quite, but other people are going to sit there and cry like considerably at it.
Hmm.
And I'm at the point in my life where I'll sit there and I'll tell you, like, there's certain movies where I've actually just broken down and cried and whatever. But like this one, I got the tears in my eyes at a certain point. It didn't quite get me to sit there and have like the tear actually drip down, but it was good enough to where like I would highly recommend it. And I highly recommend it not just to friends with families of young children, but also like I went to go see it with another adult, and we thoroughly enjoyed the film. Like it really it was really good. It made me think that Zor would do really really well with this studio,
That'd be
and
cool.
coming out as a film that could make everybody feel that heart involved with it. Interestingly enough, I posted something that said something similar to that, and DreamWorks actually like reposted my tweet today. So I was quite
About
happy.
Zor?
No,
Oh, oh.
about the wild robot. I posted a second one that said, "Hey, my story Zora. I think that like blah blah blah," and they didn't say anything about that one because obviously they're not going to unless they actually like the idea. But but it was something that made me think that this would be a good studio to make Zor into a movie. Um, and I had already mentioned Died Hard covers for the second issue need to go there to distribution and everything this week. So lots going on. Like I went to the doctor today. Not only did I go to the doctor, but Tino, I also had to go get another fucking nail out of my fucking tire today.
Yep. What happened?
Same fucking tire. Like this tire seems to be a magnet for nails because I've had this tire for 2 years and I've taken 3 nails out of it. And I'm going to tell you right now, those 3 nails that I've taken out of it are the first 3 nails I've ever taken out of a tire in my 20-something years driving, maybe 30-something years driving. I don't even know how many years I've been driving, but those nails in this tire 3 times. No other tire have I ever actually had to have a nail taken out. I've had to
Hey.
replace a popped tire, but I've never had to replace nails in tires multiple times. Anyways, so today I took the day off because I was like, I had a doctor's appointment, right? And the doctor was like, oh, we're going to do your physical. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And, you know, everything that's never good was still never good. Everything that's fine is fine. My blood pressure was like better than normal. Different things were good, whatever. So I was good. But went to the doctor, got there 20 minutes early, ended up having to sit at the waiting room for 30 minutes before I got taken in, even though my appointment was 20 minutes later. It took 30 minutes to get me in, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then I had to take my car to get something done to it. So I got that done, had to wait 30 minutes for that. Then I had to take my tire to get that fixed. So my entire day off that I thought was going to be, okay, let me go ahead and have half an hour in the waiting room and then go talk to my doctor and then just go pick my prescriptions up, ended up becoming 5 hours of waiting room time, $330 out of pocket. And luckily, the tire was salvageable, because if they had told me that the tire wasn't salvageable, I was probably going to throw it through the window.
It was salvageable, and you still had to pay $330.
Well, because of the other stuff. So
Okay.
So other things going on. I had to, like all my prescriptions, all
Got
like
it.
the other stuff with the car that I had, because I have to take my car in every 2 months to get something recalibrated on it and whatever. So that cost me. But interestingly enough, if you go to Discount Tire, and I'm going to give a free plug to them right now, okay? If you go to Discount Tire and you buy a tire from them, anytime your tire gets something wrong with it, nail, bolt, whatever, in the tire, you can take it to Discount Tire and they will fix it for free.
Nice.
And it's not just the tire they worked on. It's any of your 4 tires. If you take it to Discount Tire, after you've bought a tire from them, they will fix it for free.
Nice. I need to keep that in mind. I gotta get new tires, so I'm gonna go to Discount.
They're not exactly the cheapest tire place, even though they're called Discount Tire, but they will fix your tire for free. And I swear by that at this point, because now
That's been
3
3 times.
times in 2 years I've had to have that tire patched. And
The same one.
Same exact fucking tire.
It's time to get a new tire.
Oh, Andy Birchfield just mentioned my shirt. I am gonna say yes. This was done by my friend Andy Birchfield. My Zor T-shirt.
Nice.
I do wear it from time to time. So thank you, Andy Birchfield, for the shirt. Tino, I mentioned to you that I want to talk about something a little bit different that we don't normally talk about. And I hope I don't go long with it, because I know that obviously we've got to talk about the CW NXT show. We got to talk about the predictions for this weekend's show and anything else going on. But I wanted to bring this up. And you have more history with being able to talk about this stuff than I do.
Mm-hmm.
But recently I had a situation where a friend of mine called me and said that they needed help. And I thought that it was too important to not discuss how to get help.
Mm-hmm.
Friend of mine called me basically saying, I don't even know why I'm here anymore. And I don't know if I've ever talked about my own personal experience with this, Tino. I had a short moment in my life where I felt like I didn't want to be here anymore. Actually, I've had two in my life. The first one was when I found out my ex-wife cheated on me. And
Yep.
I felt like I did not want to be here anymore.
That's the
And
trigger.
a lot of people feel that way in that situation, right? Surprisingly, one of the biggest things that helped me get through that moment and those moments was my dogs.
That racist bastard.
I was going to say Landis.
Okay.
But I had both of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't not be here for them.
Yeah.
And crazily enough, they were more than there for me. So I was able to get through it. I struggled. In fact, so a lot of people don't know that my ex-wife Christy, when we broke up 4 years into our dating relationship. You know about it. You had to slap me on the back of the head multiple times about like just trying to like get your head together, shut the fuck up, whatever.
Yeah.
But and that was, you know, Tino had his psychology degree at that point, but he was trying to be the man rather than, you know, necessarily the friend all the time. But he also knew what kind of motivation actually got me through things in those cases. But when we went through our dating relationship and I didn't have Artie at those times, I only had Landis and I had gotten her as a puppy. I thought about giving her back to the original owners. And my mom
wasn't having that. Yeah.
She was like, "Oh, you are not giving that dog back. You are going to raise that dog because you decided you wanted that responsibility. You're going to, I don't care if you feel like you can't be here for 2 more days on the earth. You're going to sit there and raise that dog."
Made a commitment, bro.
And there were days where I just wanted, I wanted to give up. I wanted to give her back. I was like, I can't raise me. How can I raise her? And yet nobody you talk to will or I guess everybody you talk to will say how well raised that dog was, because that dog would not hurt anything. She would sit there and let kids play with her little curled up tail until it wasn't curled up anymore. So she wouldn't hurt a fly. Not everybody has that. And my friend called me up and said that they really didn't know what they were going to do because of something going on in their own personal life or whatever. And what sucked is that's when I realized I had a hole in my tire. Because I was like, I'm getting in my car. I'm going to go get you, right? Like, because I'm not going to let you be by yourself. Unfortunately, we're not always given the opportunity to let people not be by themselves. We either have work, we might not be in the same state, we might not, we just might not be in the right spot to sit there and try to talk somebody out of something bad. And because of that, I wanted to make sure we posted both the North Carolina 988 as well as the actual National Suicide Hotline number up on the screen tonight. We talk about serious stuff from time to time. Normally we cut up pretty good. We sit there, we make jokes of everything, but this is not something to be joking about. And
I like to say, like I said, I did have a little bit more experience in this. because of what I do and because of my schooling. And I
Please
think
go
a
ahead.
key thing is you did the exact right thing. If somebody reaches out to you and you have the ability, like you said, you have the time, you have drop what you're doing because that person needs you. You never know. You could be the one to save that person's life, right? And do the best you can to try to be with them, listen to them. Um, a lot of times, some people will try to fix what's going on, and then that person doesn't need you to fix it. That person needs you to listen, and that person probably needs to help you get that out. And if they need you or want your input and they ask you for it, yes, then try to help them that way. But don't automatically go into this is what you need to do. I'm gonna fix it mode. You just just listen, just sit back and listen. And it's that's so important. And I learned that from my mom. So those of you who don't know, my brother-in-law, my other brother-in-law, my wife's younger brother, who my son's named after, Matthew, passed away. I never dealt with anything like that. My wife was just da da da. She was I didn't know what to do. That's part of you want to fix it. And my mom gave me good advice. She said, hey, if she wants to talk about it, listen. She wants you to hold her, hold her. If she don't want you to touch her, don't touch her. If she wants to sit there in silence, just sit there in silence. But be there for and be whatever they need in that moment. I think that's most important in this too. And then also, make sure, if you don't know, if you're not trained, right? You can give them this number too. And if they want you to sit with them while they talk to these people on the phone until they get comfortable, you can do that too. But just do whatever you can to be there for that person. I think is the best advice I can give.
Yeah, it's.
So you did the right thing.
Thank you, thank you. I it's funny because you want to say that, well, I thought I did, but it's good to hear that someone else says that you did. The other side of it is, and you already said it, it's listening. Sometimes people say I don't want to be here, but they have a reason to be here, right? Um, People who have religious beliefs, Christians, for example, don't believe in suicide. Like, if they commit suicide, they can't go to heaven, right? So that might be something that you can sit there and maybe have them just want to listen or talk to you more about, so that way you can calm them down, get them
And
through
and
it. But
and like
you're
as
right.
and like you said, as you're listening, they have it's that moment in time. But there's always something that like you had Landis, right? There's always something they like, what about this person, right? And sometimes it depends on your relationship with that person, right? How you can communicate with them. Like you, I'm like, dude, it's a permanent solution to a temporary problem, and sometimes you got to know when you be able to say something like that to someone, right? It depends on that relationship with you. But and it's like my mom always taught me, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. So try to listen, and as they ask you for advice, just try to show them that, well, what about this, and show them some of the things that they do have. I think because a lot of times when people are in that state of mind, they're thinking of all the things they don't have and all the things that are going wrong, and that's all they see. They've got that tunnel vision, right? So they don't see the good, they just see this right now, and oh my gosh, I don't want to go on, everything's so terrible, right? So
I mean, to them, the hurt is real, and it is.
yes, yes, and you don't
There is.
want to you want to make sure that you don't disregard their feelings, right? You let them understand. Yes, I understand what you're saying. You never want to negate their feelings, right? So yeah.
Yeah, it's not an easy moment, and
Mm-mm.
I literally sat there and said, "Do I have to come get you?" And I went about 18 feet in my car, and then found out that I had no tire pressure in the one tire.
How did you get to them?
They came to me.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, as long, yes.
And that worked out as well, because otherwise, like, if I had gone to the person, grabbed them, brought them back over to my place, and they're not leaving until I'm ready to leave,
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's like, if you have your car and you feel comfortable enough, but guess what? Rob's gonna check on you, because that's what I do. I mean, like, if Tino sits there and says he's ill and we're supposed to do a show, I normally check on him like 3 times that week to see if he's feeling better and whatever.
Yeah.
And that's just the way I am. That's the way you are. Like anytime that you and I have ever felt like anything wasn't feeling up to snuff,
Mhm.
we check on each other.
Mhm.
And but another part of that is that's why, like, when we get off the show and we're off the air and you guys don't see this, we tell each other we love each other,
Mhm.
because we know. And I'm going to say this right now. Tino has told me, Rob, the reason why I'm checking on you as often as I am is because I know that you're depressed.
Mhm.
And
That's the psychologist coming outside.
and I sit there and go, no, I'm not. And he goes, yes, the fuck you are, bitch.
There you are, bitch. There you are. And that's the thing. When you're in it, you don't realize it, but outside,
No,
you can
and you know
see
what?
it.
To your point, as a creator, I try to use it when I
Mhm.
know I'm in it, and I try to tell other people who are like, I don't know how to deal with this, that I know that are creative people. I tell them to create from it. Like Zor has a bunch of depressed moments in it. It's not the simplest and just everything is happy go lucky. There's a lot of depression in it, because
Mhm.
there are moments that, I mean, the very beginning is the mom passed away and the little girl can't stop crying, right? So what do you do when you feel that way? How do you deal with it? What do you go through? Like, how do you get to the next moment? And unfortunately with Zora, we really discuss like what the tears do to fix that moment, and not necessarily what the little girl does to get through that moment.
Yeah.
And maybe that's something that we tackle with a sequel or something like that. But like,
Tino the plumber can help.
Tino the plumber can actually Tino the plumber actually says some really good lines throughout the 3 issues to make the little girl feel better about the situation at hand,
That's what
which
I'm here
I
for.
thought was great, because I and I didn't ask his input on any of the like
I'm trying.
it's because first of all, we didn't think he was going to be Tino the plumber.
No, we didn't. That came about as a joke, and I really didn't think you were going to do it because and you guys probably heard the story. He showed me
Michael,
the picture
yeah.
of the plumber. I'm like, Rob's like, that looks like you. I'm like, yeah, that's. I said, you should name him Tino. I was being a smartass. I really didn't think he would do it. So I am honored that he did name it Tino the plumber. That's fucking awesome. But I'm never going to let him live it down either. I told him I want a sequel all about
The
Tino the plumber.
the craziest, so in that situation, Michael did that artwork because I said I wanted it to look like Mario, but I wanted it to look different than Mario, and he
a,
literally
a
gave
black
me
Mario.
that, and I was like, you created Tino, my new partner, and Michael was like, did I? And I sent him a picture of you, and he goes, oh shit. So it was completely there was, but I was like, but I was like, Tino's going to start signing copies of the book, and I'm going to give. Anyway, but folks, talking about suicide is not a joke.
No, that's dead. And I try to, if it gets too heavy, I try to make a joke to make Rob laugh. I can tell.
No.
I can't, after all the time I've known Rob, I can tell when, he's getting kind of emotional, and the guys don't say, I can tell it. So that's why I try to make him laugh. So we're not joking about the situation. I'm trying to keep him. So
No, but this is something important,
yeah.
and unfortunately, it's probably going to make the show go long, because it's so important, and it's not just important to us, and it's not just important to the situation that I dealt with. It's important that if you ever feel like this is something you're dealing with,
Mhm.
Tino and I can tell you right now, anybody that has ever been part of this show, you can reach out to us. Our names are listed. We give you our social media handles.
Mhm.
We might not be able to help you through the situation, but we'll listen. I have no problem listening to anybody sitting there telling me that they don't think they can make it through the next day. Because I'll tell you right now that, like I said, there's been 2 situations where I felt that way. And well, both of them had to deal with my marriage, but I don't feel that way anymore. I feel like there's something I can always contribute, so I never want to not be able to give that. And I just want everybody who watches our show, who knows us as people, and I see that there's people in the audience right now watching as we're doing this live, that that we care, and we do. We're like, this show isn't produced by anybody. If it was, it probably much higher quality. But the fact of the matter is that we care, and we've always cared about people. We've always cared about anybody we've ever met. When suddenly we go somewhere and we don't see one of those people that we've seen week after week after week, we ask about them.
Mhm.
And if they're not there, we want to know why not. And if it's a great reason, awesome. But if it's because something happened, we feel it.
Yeah.
We hurt from it. Tino, I feel like you and I have always been that way.
Mhm.
We joked a couple weeks ago that our friend John was in the hospital, and we joked because, like, he really didn't tell us, but then he ended up in the audience that night because he had nothing else to do. But
Fubar.
no, I want to stress the numbers that you see on the screen right now are very important, and they are trained professionals to be able to take your call and just help you realize that your life is worth it, if nothing else. And from there, hopefully, you can find something that makes you feel better and go from there. And if nothing else, I mean, like, I can't stress it enough. I've lost too many friends to just passing away
Mhm.
to have somebody be so selfish that they'd want to take their own life. if I know you and you decide or you say that you want to take your own life and you do it, I feel like you hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know how you feel about it, Tino. I like, obviously at this point I'm not talking about like how we try to help people get through it or whatever, but it's just how you feel when someone does that. Like I know that for those that follow like Christianity or whatever, like you, if you do that, you go to hell. Like I'm rewatching Heels, right? And there's a scene in season 1 where Thomas, the son of Jack Spade, sits there and he's giving the blessing at dinner where the entire family is having dinner together. And he sits there and he talks about how he wishes the best for Grandma Spade, Jack Spade, Ace Spade, his mom, you know, and then he says Grandpa Spade, who's looking down on us from heaven. And the grandmother sits there and goes, because he took his own life. And if you've watched the show, folks, you know that Tom Spade commits suicide. And that's like the big reason why there's such a big turmoil between the family. It's because Jack's taken over and everything else. But when Thomas sits there and says, and to Grandpa Spade, who's in heaven, and the grandmother sits there and like scalds the boy, saying that he's burning in eternity in hell because that's what happens to people that take their own life. Like, I don't know what people feel about that, but I can understand why Christians feel that way, because it's the most selfish act somebody can actually do. And like you said, it's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. And with the show Heels, you have to watch the entire 2 seasons to really understand what kind of financial turmoil he put his family through, to where King Spade, Tom, sits there and thinks that that's the decision that needs to be made. Which, if they'd only gone 1 season, you'd have been sitting there going, why'd that dude kill himself? He had a wrestling promotion. He had this. He had, you know, like, but by the end of the 2nd season, you really do know it. And part of me actually thinks that that's why, Tino, when you watch the 2 seasons on Netflix, Stephen Amell, when he was on Chris Van Vliet, said that really kind of runs like it's 1 season.
Yeah.
So, can we move on to something else?
Yeah. Let's move on.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about this?
Oh Jesus! I sat there and watched that. Oh God!
We're going to talk about wrestling, folks.
They brought up a whole lot of stuff that I did not know about Vince McMahon. And I
Really?
thought I knew. Yeah, I didn't realize that his mother sexually abused him. I didn't realize he didn't meet um, his dad until he was like 12. I thought he knew.
I thought it was his stepdad that sexually abused him.
No, they said it was his mom. They said if you go back and listen, they said I guess in an interview he implied that it was his mother.
Oh wow.
I'm
Okay.
sure his stepdad beat the shit out of him, but they said it was his mom that sexually abused him. He implied
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Allegedly. Let's do allegedly because I'm not trying to get sued.
So you watched the whole thing, right?
Yes, I did.
Did you feel so? my personal opinions on it were that while it was called Mr. McMahon, it was really just a rehashing of almost all of the controversies that the WWE Network or Peacock has actually talked about at one point or another.
That and Bruce Pritchard said it in one of the interviews. So they this piece it made him look like an asshole. And now he did a lot of bad shit, but he did some good shit too. And they didn't put that in there, right? They just all the bad shit, not like you said, all the controversy that's happening right now.
So I like that Bruce Pritchard, and first of all, I like that they actually added in that Bruce Pritchard said, I feel like it's a hit piece.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like it's a hit piece because when they talk about him, they talk about how bad he is, but they don't talk about how my wife, 24 years after cancer treatments, is still alive because he made sure she got the best treatments. Now,
They said she was only supposed to have 4 years, and he said that was 20 years ago.
Now, here's the other side of that. 2 days later, all the shit fell out of the asshole of the Vince McMahon controversy because that's when the Janelle Grant stuff came out.
Gotcha.
So literally, they even said 2 days later, and it's like suddenly, do we think that Bruce Pritchard felt exactly the same? And when it comes to Bruce Pritchard, I'm going to say yes. Bruce Pritchard felt exactly the same. Did everybody else within TKO feel exactly the same? And I'm going to say no. The answer is no. Right? And so some of the stuff here, I have to say it straight up. The Ari Emanuel being the overall head of TKO, right? So
Right.
the Endeavor brand who owns TKO, Ari Emanuel was the guy who came out and lambasted, for lack of a better word, Harvey Weinstein when all of his troubles came out of sexual assault and sexual abuse and sexual this and sexual whatever. And he was 100% against it. So you and I have had this conversation. I don't know if it was on air. It might have been back when it first got announced. But when it got announced, you and I had the conversation where I said, Ari Emanuel is going to make him step down.
Mm-hmm.
And the Netflix thing actually did talk about how, for the first time ever, Vince McMahon only had 49% control. So if someone else sits there and says, get out, if it's Ari Emanuel who has 51%, you're fucking gone.
Yep.
Like, you have no chance of coming back.
No chance in hell.
Nice. Good. Well played, sir. No chance in hell. But anyways, so when you consider all that, and so my big question there, though, Tino, is it possible? And I really want you to think about this. Is it possible that Nick Khan, Triple H, Bruce Pritchard, and maybe even Shawn Michaels had no knowledge of all of this really weird, kinky shit that's being talked about? Is it possible? Like, they would have had to have heard at least a rumor of it.
Yes. So I don't think it's possible that he didn't know.
So the fact that all of those people are still in power in WWE, is it right or is it wrong?
I don't think it's right. If they knew what was going on there, that's not right.
But if they only knew that it was speculative, like, because the people that are no longer with the company are him and Johnny Ace. And those are the two that seem to have the names and everything of, like, them
I've got to
and
believe.
Brock Lesnar are the only ones that have seemed to have been named. And the Netflix show is the only one that's named Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, I find it hard to believe, and it could be true, as close as Pritchard is, that he had no idea.
Now, are you commingling the name Bruce Pritchard with Kevin Dunn? Because Kevin Dunn is the previous guy that did
Well, I
all.
wouldn't. I wouldn't think Kevin Dunn, but I'm sure Kevin Dunn was in on it too. Bruce Pritchard. I have a hard time believing he knew nothing about it. But Kevin Dunn's another one.
No. Well, Kevin Dunn is no longer with the company, right?
Yeah.
He was one of the people that actually got
Yeah.
removed.
No, I said what I said. I meant Bruce Pritchard, Brother Love. That's what I meant.
Wasn't that Tom Pritchard? No, Tom Pritchard was the zombie.
Yeah, he was Dr. Tom. No, Bruce was
Dr.
Brother Love.
Tom. He went to TNA for a while.
Yeah. So, like I said, and I could be wrong, but as close as they were, you know what I'm saying? As close as he worked with him and was probably with him 24/7. Yeah, I believe Johnny Ace was in it, but I think Bruce had some inkling. He might not have known everything. He might not have been on everything, but he had to have known something.
I didn't hear
Oh my
Vince
God.
McMahon is making his own documentary saying he is doing this to answer all the questions that he said
They got wrong. Gorgeous, they got wrong.
Yeah, Michael, I agree with that. I've heard that. I think that that's false. I don't think Vince McMahon wants to put out more than the statement that he did. I don't think it'll help anything. I don't know if he'd even have distribution for it. And it's not like TKO is going to put it out. Like right now. And so let me ask this, Tino. Bruce Pritchard said it sounded like a hit piece. Did it sound like a hit piece when you watched all 6 episodes? Did 5 episodes sound like a hit piece and then 1 episode or 5 episodes not and then 1 episode did? Or what are your feelings?
No, I think you're right. They aired a lot of the stuff that has already been out there, like the Chris Benoit thing, the steroid scandal. It's stuff
Owen
that
Hart.
it's not stuff we haven't heard before. So no, I don't think it was a hit piece in that way. But I think they while they put all like I said, while they put all that bad stuff out, like I said, he did some bad shit. They didn't counteract it with some of the good stuff he did, I guess, in my opinion. So in that way, I can see where you might think it was a hit piece, right? So you're trying to make him look like this asshole, and then he even said the line blurs, right? So where does Vince end and where does Mr. McMahon begin, right? So did he do this stuff as Mr. McMahon or does he do this stuff as Vince? Now the stuff that we've got coming out now, that's Vince, but this other stuff, you know what I mean?
So I'm going to straight up say it's not a hit piece. If it was a hit piece, this would have really tied into that Ashley Mazzaro stuff where they barely touched upon it. Where a woman was unconscious for hours and nobody could find her, and all of a sudden when she became conscious and they found her, she still couldn't move, and everybody wanted to know what was going on with it. And all they did was show that Vince McMahon kind of like judged her on screen, right? if this was a hit piece, this would have been something where they really dug into those moments.
I see that. I can see that.
So this was like the lightest. And have you watched Netflix documentaries before?
Hmm.
Because normally,
They go all in.
normally they don't they go all in. They get you to the point
Well,
where you're sitting there going, "That motherfucker did it.
well,
That motherfucker did it."
I'm wondering too because Raw and WWE are have a deal with Netflix now, so maybe they don't want to. They want to walk that thin line, walk that razor blade.
He knows. He
Yes.
knows. That's exactly what it is. All this talk that Vince McMahon tried to buy it back and blah blah blah. Sure, he tried to cover all this bullshit up, whatever. But the fact is that 4 of those episodes were about the building of the industry that they just paid $5 billion to show on TV. There was an episode where they're talking about his neck brace and blah, blah, blah. And then there's half an episode at the very end where they show him as they're getting note that like news is coming out that Vince McMahon sexually assaulted somebody.
So
And
the empty chair.
he goes, "Oh God, oh God." And he just gets up and he leaves. Anybody else, it'd have been like, sit your ass down, answer these questions.
Yes.
But because they're signing a $5 billion deal,
Ain't nobody got time for that.
and I'm going to tell you, Eric Young, for example, Eric Young is a very creative talent in the world of professional wrestling. He had a highly regarded spot in NXT. And
I love that faction.
And when they took him and said, "We're going to move you up to the main roster,"
They fucked up.
apparently there was stuff going on backstage where him and Vince McMahon did not get along. And he asked for his release. They gave him his release. He signed another deal with WWE as soon as Triple H took over again. But then when Vince McMahon came right back in, he got fired. And now he's with TNA because he's like, I still think Vince McMahon's somehow involved with that company.
I wouldn't be surprised if the deals they're doing with TNA if he doesn't come back at some point.
Oh, I think he stays off of that deal specifically because of that. But him and Triple H have a very good working relationship. Him and Jeremy Borash have a very good working relationship. I mean, hell, him and Jeremy Borash worked together for 10 years on TNA.
Yeah.
So I mean, like, he knows that if it really is Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Jeremy Borash, he can come back to WWE. But he's got to be thinking, well, the last time I tried to come back, they fucking fired me again.
Right.
So, yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's really kind of crazy. Here's the next thing I want to talk about, Tino. There's been a lot of controversy this week. Give me your opinion.
So we're not going to use you.
Everybody
let
in the comments, go ahead, start putting your opinions out there about this one.
We're not going to use you, but we're not going to let you go to WWE where they are. Think about it. They are spotlighting luchas. You got the LWO. You've got with Dragon Lee. You've got Andrade. They're picking up on the lucha stuff. Ray Phoenix and his brother Cero Miedo. I can't remember his name right now. Penta would make money, would get pushed, and would push AEW further back. So he's like, nope.
Well, remember last week I said on the show that the rumor was that they were going to go immediately to the main roster. Do you
Hmm.
think that had something to do with it?
Hmm.
If they were
Hmm.
going to NXT, do you think they'd care as much?
As much, no. They would still care, but not as much.
Right. So continue. I want to hear more on your opinion of this one.
No,
And
that's it.
again, folks, in the comments, I'd love to hear what you're thinking.
Because Tony Khan, unfortunately, and like I said, I'm not a AEW mark. I'm not a WWE mark. You know, I try to treat them both fairly. But right now, AEW is, I don't want to say sinking ship, but they're Triple H and WWE is hot right now, right? And so to put these two on the main roster, you've got AEW fans who watch them and who know they are. I know them from TNA and you know Ring of Honor. I know them from other places, but you put them on WWE, I think it's another. I won't say nail in the coffin, but you know what I'm saying. It'll
No,
hurt Tony.
no. Now you okay. Now you're being so. How are you making me the person that has to defend AEW here?
Because
Come
I want
on,
to hear it.
man.
That's exactly why I'm doing it. So
Like
that's
you're hurting
exactly
my
what.
feel. You're making you're hurting my feelings here because
That's what it's.
we know. All right, everybody knows when they watch this show that I'm the one that sits there and I'm the WWE mark. We know that,
Hmm. Hmm.
and yet when I praise AEW, I praise it. Okay, I do. I praise that Swerve versus Brian Danielson match.
You did. You did.
I
And like I said,
praise the Osprey versus MJF match.
the sun shines on a dog's ass every once in a while. You do. I want to hear your take on it, though. That's why I set you up like
So thanks, asshole.
that.
Asshole. Like, uh, I don't blame Tony Khan for doing what he's doing,
Right.
which is taking somebody he considers a really marketable talent and saying, you were out for considerable time with injury. Now,
But here's my question, though. If
I,
he thinks
I,
he's a marketable talent, he wasn't pushing him when he was there before he got hurt. You know what I mean?
I
Because you even said that the
eh.
Lucha Brothers. Okay, okay. Because I'm about to go back what you said about the Lucha Brothers.
Did you say you were going to let me explain?
Okay. Sorry. Explain, Lucy.
That's right, Nikki.
You got explaining to do. Explain.
I got explaining to do.
Explain.
The redhead. Are you fucking serious? You're sitting. So, all right, folks. Here's what it was. He put them in sizable positions
Hmm.
because they were always against people like the Young Fucks.
Hmm.
Notice what I said there.
Yeah, but you know they weren't going to beat the Young Cuts. You know what I said
Well, that's my opinion as to why they decided they weren't re-signing.
there.
Okay,
Hmm.
but here's the biggest problem when it comes to this moment is that the contract, you know for a fact, the contract actually says that they sign, that they have that clause in there that tells Tony Khan that he can add time to the contract if there's sustainable injury time because they're paying them to be there while they're getting fixed.
Hmm.
So my question is Tony Khan in the wrong for doing that?
No, because if he's
He
paying,
has a
and
legal
I
he
was
has a
being
legal right to
facetious.
do it. Sorry.
If he's paying them while they're hurt, yeah, they can't. They're double dipping, right? And so, and he's probably paying for their rehabilitation and all this
I
stuff.
don't know. I don't know if that's part of it. And that is something that like is probably dependent on the contract.
So you don't think so?
I don't know.
Like,
They're
like,
independent
this would
contractors.
like
They're
because he's
independent
bigger.
contractors, which to me makes me think that each contract is different in that essence.
So
Like
you
if
think
I
what
blow
about
out my knee, sorry, go ahead.
what about a Britt Baker? You don't think he's paying for it? You know what I'm saying? So are you saying it depends on the star? He's not paying for anybody, like a Britt Baker or Adam Cole or you know what I'm saying? Somebody like that.
I think I think it's one of those things where they don't pay for the health insurance,
Okay.
which means it makes me think they don't pay for the health care. And it's part of your own personal pay that you go ahead and get that fixed.
But then you have companies. So how if they don't pay? And I'm sorry, if they don't pay for, and this is just another question I've always wondered about. If they are subcontractors, right, and they don't pay for their insurance, but you hear about WWE paying for rehab, what's the difference? You know what I'm saying? And that's still medical. And I'm just asking because I'm not sure how that works.
No. That all goes back to the idea that and Michael Turner said something. I'll get to it in a minute, but the rehab thing I think is because they created the drug policy.
Got
So
it.
they had to
Okay.
create something that would allow them to be and one of the things that like you can't dispute and I'm surprised this wasn't in the Mr. McMahon documentary was
That's
how
one
many
of
times
yes.
they tried to help Scott Hall, right?
Not only Scott Hall, but yeah, even they're not even when they're not in the company, WWE still pays
Well,
for
they
the
did
rehab.
say that. They did say that in the thing, but they never actually broke it down to more than saying they've started a wellness program to where anybody who needs to go to rehab, even if they're not with the company anymore, but they've worked for the company, can go through it. They did say that,
Okay.
but it was literally like
A blurb.
not even as long as I just said it.
Yeah.
You know, um, Michael Turner just said, "Rob, you know AEW don't have much left." No, come on. They just
Well,
signed a $500 million deal with TNT and
I
all
think
that.
I think he's talking about talent.
Oh, they got plenty of talent. They got
They
too
just
much
don't use
talent.
them. They don't use them. Yeah.
Well, and that's part of the problem. That's why Miro wants
Well,
out. That's why, like, but let's go back to what you were asking. When it comes to this situation, Ray
mhm.
Phoenix not being allowed to leave is because the AEW contract is structured just like a WWE contract. And from day one, Tino, this is something I really want to get out there. I have sat there and said, what is different about an AEW contract from a WWE contract? Not
And
a
then
goddamn thing.
yeah, it is.
They are
It's
independent contractors. They
that
are
kind of thing.
not they are not people that are paid because they work for the company.
Oh, okay. I thought I said line of work schedule, things like that. So you mean like contracts. I see what you're saying.
Well, their contract is so yes, there are differences to it. The differences are, because we only work 2 shows a week, you can work independent shows.
Hmm.
You can do this. You can, whereas WWE is paying you to actually be there for the house shows, right?
Yeah.
So you're not getting paid by AEW to take a DPW show in Durham,
Right.
but you have to make sure that AEW is okay with you taking a DPW show in Durham. You have to make sure that they're okay with you selling your T-shirts at the DPW show in Durham. You have to make sure that they're okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
If you get injured at the DPW show in Durham, is AEW responsible for any of your injuries? The answer is
No.
so. Guess what? They're not paying for any of your
Got it.
health care. And in a lot of these cases, none of them are actually paid for health care. Like, there have been, they're actually, like, TNA for a while was paying for health care for their wrestlers. So people that signed the contract with TNA would actually get that health care, so that if they blew out their knee, TNA is responsible for the knee surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that doesn't bode well for a company that doesn't have overhead enough to take care of that.
Right.
But it really helps the wrestler. The biggest thing that I want to point out about this is the second part of this statement on the screen here: independent contracts. Now, during that Vince McMahon interview, we saw that we finally found out who the stooge was as to why the WWE independent contractors never actually started a
Union.
Fucking Hogan. My favorite thing was that
trying to say
random picture of Hogan hugging Linda McMahon with Booker T in the background staring at him, and it said, "Now we know why we don't have a union." That was my favorite picture that I saw, like, posted on all of the internet about the Vince McMahon thing. But Hogan literally took McMahon's side on everything in that fucking documentary, which means you can't trust Hogan on anything because he lies about everything. If they say, did you know about this? Yeah, I knew about that, brother. I did that, brother. That's what I did, brother. Yep, shut the fuck up, Hogan. Like, I don't trust the goddamn thing he says anymore. I'm
he
done.
he took some credit for some stuff in that documentary too. I'm like, no, you didn't. To some of the wrestling matches and some of the things. I'm like, shut up.
And the other part about it that I'm going to say right now is that Tony Atlas is not a credible witness on anything with his fucking Fred Flintstone looking outfit. You know, the shirt, the sleeves cut off, but he's wearing a tie. Shut the fuck up, Tony Atlas. Like who the fuck do you think you are? Like, but anyway.
Just whoop your ass.
But
just still whoop your ass.
He would, because he's still a lot bigger than me. But the Ray Phoenix thing, it's unfortunate. And hopefully what happens is cooler heads prevail. Tony Khan lets him out of his contract 3 months from now. And he's able to go do what he wants, which is wrestle. Not just sit at home collecting money and not taking a primo deal where all he does is job to the young fucks for the next 5 fucking years. Because I hate to tell everybody, the reason why the Lucha Brothers want to fucking leave AEW is because the young cucks sit there and take 12 fucking finishers and still win a goddamn match.
You ain't gonna argue with me. You know I can't stand those bastards.
But I'm not wrong either.
Nope.
So it makes sense as to why a team who doesn't feel like they have been at the position that they should have been, even though they got told they would be there, that they want to try something new.
Yep.
And they have interest from the biggest fucking company in the world when it comes to it. Am I wrong?
No.
Okay.
All right, let's get these predictions because we're almost an hour and a half in.
All right, we're gonna start with the predictions for this. If you've got them
Yes.
up.
CW. That's exciting.
Can we talk about how important it is to move NXT to the CW right before we do this?
Go for it. Don't get long winded.
You know I'm going to.
I know. I'm gonna log off. You'll still be doing the show.
Shawn Michaels has been doing media in Chicago. He's been doing media on Busted Open. He's been doing media everywhere. What he's basically been saying is expect the unexpected. It's all new. It's a new era. But at the same time, it's realizing everything that NXT has been before it and then moving forward. And I love it. Because when you think about it, this brand has been around 10 fucking years.
Mm-hmm.
It's been around longer than that because Seth Rollins and the Shield came up in what, 2012?
Something like that, yeah.
So let's say 12 years. The NXT brand has been around. And now it's on network fucking television. Raw and SmackDown aren't even on network television.
Not anymore. SmackDown. Oh, no.
Not anymore.
What, Fox? Is Fox not network?
It was.
Yeah,
it
that's what
is.
I'm saying. They were.
But they were, but they're not. And that's why I told you that SmackDown had dropped 0.75 million people per week in 3 weeks based on the fact that they're on cable now.
Mm.
But NXT going to network television, I'm going to tell you right now, I assume if CW actually goes behind them, that they'll be right with where the Raw and SmackDown ratings are in just a few weeks, because anybody who has any television at all can watch CW. Which also means them signing that deal with CW means NXT will be ahead of all of AEW programming with the ratings immediately.
Yep.
And WWE didn't just accept that and say, "Oh, we're just going to do this." They decided we're going to put CM Punk on the show. We're gonna have Julia versus Roxanne Perez. We're gonna have Ethan Page versus Trick Williams. We're going to also have Stephanie McCurr actually as part of somehow with that women's title match. Like, we don't even know, like, based on how she just showed up last week, whatever. Like, they are sitting there basically going, "This is a new goddamn brand."
You just went down the whole thing.
Did I?
The whole, yep, you got just about. So you've got we got Lola Vice and Jada Parker against Fatal Influence.
Who you got?
I got Lola and Jade.
Okay. I'm with you on that.
We got the street fights, Wesley and Zachary Wentz. I think that 50-50 booking, Wes is going to come back and win that match because he lost the last one in the pay-per-view to Zachary.
And that's that's TNA versus
NXT. And TNA won the last one because Zachary beat Wesley last time.
Wentz winning that one, though, does allow for Wesley to be more of a heel going forward.
Well, no, they've already done that because Zachary won the last fight. I think it was last week. They showed video of Wes going to Ohio, where they're from, and beating up Trey Miguel in the parking lot,
Okay.
which is why Zachary's coming back. Like, you beat your brother, da 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 da. Which I think they emotionally get over in that. I think Wes will win this one. I don't think Wes is going to go down 2 in a row.
It's hard to sit there and say that an NXT guy isn't going to win on the first night that NXT is on this new network, but you got to keep that relationship, you know. And I think we're going to see new parts of that relationship tomorrow night, by the way.
Because you still got Trey Miguel could come in and get into it with West too. So you know what I mean. So that
Sure.
doesn't just even if West does win, that doesn't mean it's over because he's still got to deal with Trey. You
All
know.
right. So you're saying Wes, I'm saying Zach wins.
Okay. Then we got the women's championship, Roxanne and Julia. I'm going with Julia
Which I
because I
kind of
think
think is going to open. I think it's going to open the show.
yeah, and I'm thinking Julia because Roxanne's getting called up.
I
I
don't
think
think
she
she
gets
is
called
yet.
up.
I
Really?
think, yeah, and so I know you hate when I talk about Busted Open, but when Shawn
Yes.
Michaels was on the show today, he actually was asked a specific question of, is Roxanne ready? And Shawn Michaels sat there and said, well, it took me a couple of weeks to realize that she was ready and blah. So he wasn't really fully behind her being ready to be called up until a couple weeks ago. If there's no spot for her on the main roster right now, the best spot for her to be is building this new show on the CW. Does that mean she's going to lose? No. Does that mean she's going to win? No. I think she wins, but I think Stephanie McCurr causes her to win, which causes a three-way dance between the three of them.
Okay. So you're going with Roxanne. I'm still going to stick with Julia, just because.
Hey, I like it. I like it. It's a good choice. I think Julia's fucking hot. I think she's I think she's a great wrestler, but I really like her look. Not really sold on her everything else yet.
You mean everything else?
Like when she wrestled Chelsea Green, I didn't like her entrance and everything else. I wasn't fully sold on it yet. Maybe it's something that I buy into later. I don't know.
Well, I mean, a lot of times that's an interest that she used in Stardom, so it's probably it's new, so you probably get you know what I mean.
Well,
Something just
she's obviously got new music now and everything, you know.
And then the main event, obviously, I guess it's going to be is special guest
I'm
referee
sure there'll be
CM Punk.
something else.
Yeah, special guest. Well, it's tomorrow, so I don't know. Special guest referee CM Punk, and that's going to be that's Ethan Page and Trick Williams.
I want your opinion.
I think Trick, because
I
I
thought
think
you were frozen for a second there.
no, no, I was thinking because the way Ethan won it, he won it dirty, by just falling on whoever to win the title, and he's put Trick through a lot. I think Trick wins this, but I don't think it's over. I think him and Ethan go at it for a couple of more pay-per-views, but I think Trick wins this one. And I think
Chris Barrett says Ethan Page retains 9-9 Jones.
Where the hell you been, Chris Barrett? But so who do you think? Who you got, Rob?
So did you say Trick Williams?
I say Trick.
I think they only switch one of the two titles at most.
Okay. Well, you're saying that Roxanne's going to keep it, so I'm saying Trick's going to win.
So I'm okay with Trick winning if Roxanne loses. Jones.
Okay, so Michael, he's given his Michael says Lola Vice. He's saying Lee. So he's saying that Wes Lee's going to win. I think there's only two I think we got from him so far. And apparently Chris Barrett is watching all my children.
He was watching his soaps. All right. So Tino, we gotta go through the WWE shows real quick.
I don't want to.
What?
I don't want it. I'm tired. But okay.
Yeah, sorry for taking so long with that deep shit.
It happened, and I told you it's not going to happen, And after I saw it, so I don't know how long you saw it, but I texted you last week. What did I say?
I don't know.
I only said one word.
Oh, Uso.
Because you said no. You said it wasn't going to happen. And I
I
told you, I called him. I told you he was going to.
Hey, you know what? I agree. You called it. I'm glad because I think we all wanted Jey Uso to win a title. It's just I think that this really was Triple H's response to the fact that he was too late on the LA Knight thing. And by the way, that's not a bad thing. It's
That's a good
a
thing.
good thing. But yeah, thank you. But no, it really is one of those moments where you sit there and you go, "Oh shit, that caught me off guard." Because nobody expected it.
Mm.
Like did you, as much as you called and you said I think Uso's going to win, when you saw the 3 count, you still jumped up, didn't you? Because I remember how you wrote Uso to me in that text message. It was like a couple letters wrong and everything else to the
It was
whole
Uso.
exactly. And it's because when it happened, you sat there and went, "Oh shit."
They did
I
it.
was and you were like, "I was right. I'm going to call Rob out because Rob was wrong." But you still thought that there was that possibility that Braun Breaker was going to win that match. I thought it was bigger than that. The weird thing about all of that to me is that with the Braun Breaker match against Jey Uso, now I'm hearing on the internet that Braun Breaker is going to be turned babyface like that.
Well, they already started cheering him, and so if they turn him babyface, who do they put him against? You know, who is that? I would love to see him and Bronson Reed.
Well, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you a really interesting concept, and you can tell me how you feel about it.
You already told me about that. What Terrence said about the Braun. No,
No, I like that, but the picture I sent and everything was like Calvin and Hobbes. No, what if? Remember how we were talking about like if you do at Survivor Series, you do Bloodline versus Bloodline. Who do you go for, right? Who do you grab? And I kept saying, oh, you get Sammy to be part of it. Well, what if Sammy doesn't want to be part of it because he got kicked out of the bloodline, but Braun Breaker comes in because Jey Uso says we could use someone like you. And with all the nobody from your family has ever been able to beat anybody from my family, suddenly he goes against the bloodline, the other half of the family. It suddenly makes a lot of sense. And by the way, I'm going to say right now, nobody has said anything about that. No dirt sheets, no nothing. This is just Potsy sitting there saying Potsy stuff. But it'd be another spear added to the Roman Reigns team side, like
yeah.
I'm okay
One
with
more thing. One more thing I forgot to mention in NXT, and I don't know if it's going to be on tomorrow night, but I know this match is set. I don't know if it's for tomorrow night or if it's for next week, and it might be next week. It's not on that card. The match I'm looking forward to is the Dawn Tony D'Angelo against Obafemi, part 2.
it might be tomorrow night. And it's another one where I suddenly sit there and I go, well, if the other two go in the direction where they stay like I see at least one of the 3 championships changing hands. I don't see all 3. I almost don't even see 2, but I could see one of the 3 on network television changing hands.
So you think it'll be that one?
Normally, when they change a championship on network television, it's going to be the midline championship. So yes.
Okay.
So I go with the Don there.
Me too.
Although I don't think Obafemi should lose.
I think Obafemi needs to be called up.
Well, I think Obafemi should be the next guy that actually holds the North American Championship and the NXT Championship.
I don't see that happening.
Well, then he just drops the North American Champ. That's what you do in that situation.
Yeah, but I don't see them doing that.
Yeah, I don't know if I do either. Which is unfortunate because if he gets called up before he wins the NXT Championship, I think that's a disservice to what he's done.
All right. Trying to think of anything else.
You know what we're getting ready to talk about. I'm looking for it. What's
talking about going home?
Almost. Bad
blood. And I'm looking at it, and right now it doesn't look like it's a whole. They don't have what I'm looking at doesn't have a lot of matches on the card.
Where are you at? Are you on the WWE site?
They didn't have anything listed. I just went to Bleacher.
All right. Well, give us what you got.
I got Nia and Bailey, and I want to point out Nia and Bailey, and I want to point out something to you that I said I could see happening, and it looks like they started it on Friday night's show. Do you see how Nia jacked the old girl up and said, "And if I lose," she's starting to bully her now. And as she left the room, you see the look on Tiffy's face, like, "I'm gonna get you, bitch," right?
Well, you happen.
And it's playing. Now, see, remember I told you that I think that's what's going to happen is she's going to bully her, and finally Tiffy's going to have enough and be like, "Fuck you," and cash in.
Do you think it's going to happen?
It might be a little while longer. I don't think it'll happen in Bad Blood.
Yeah, but I'm not thinking Bad Blood for it.
But it's going to happen. Tiffany is going to turn that thing in on Nia, and when she does, she's going to beat Nia. And I'm saying it now.
You know what I think it might be? And what do you think of this idea? What if they decided to do War Games for the women and Tiffany and Nia are on the same side? And their team comes out just barely. And as everybody else leaves the two cages, Tiffany Stratton cashes in. And Nia's left lying, and she just takes the title from her.
Possibly.
Dude, could you imagine, like, how big that would be? Like, she does that moonsault, and she sits there, and everybody else from that team is outside the ring, and they can't get in, and they're looking in, and they're, like, grabbing on the cage, going like this, and she sits there 1, 2, 3 after the bell had already rung on that War Games match.
Yeah.
Dude. Be the heat, bro. Like, I hope Triple H is listening because he's obviously listened to our shit before.
Priest and Balor.
I think Balor needs the win. And I think you can get away with it with all of the possible
here's my problem.
The possible like people coming down and getting involved.
Here's my problem with that. They've been beating his ass down every week.
What now?
They've been beating Priest and Rhea down every week.
Yeah, I think they're going to extend the feud.
So you think you're saying Balor over Priest?
And you're not.
No, because
Should we
hear me
write
out.
this? We should write this down so we can talk about it next week.
Because I think Priest goes over Balor because I think Liv is going to sneak a win over Rhea. I don't think Rhea's coming out with
I
that belt.
agree with you there too. By the way, I think Liv is going to hold on to that belt because I don't think Rhea needs it.
So I don't think they're going to have both of them of the Terra twins beat down.
Now
can
you're
see-
now you're starting to like book these shows like I would.
Well, no, because Priest beats Balor, right? And so in the match with Liv and Rhea, I can see them jumping Rhea and Priest having to come down and try to help Rhea there. But Liv's going to keep that belt as much as I want Rhea to get that back. And this is why I thought they would bring Roxana. I think Roxanne and Liv would be a good program.
Possibly, but I don't think it works here. Like, why would Roxanne suddenly just show up? And that doesn't make sense. Like, I honestly think Roxanne is probably a call up at Royal Rumble, but I could see her being like one of the last two in the Royal Rumble at the same time. That way, when she shows up on Monday Night Raw, Adam Pearce is trying to sell her on coming to Raw, and then Nick Aldis is trying to sell her on coming to SmackDown, and before you know it, you have like a bidding war to sit there and get Roxanne Perez to be on your program.
Okay. Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes against Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa.
Does it open the show? Does it close the show?
Well, Roman's in it, so
it does one or the other.
I say it opens.
Okay. So if it opens, I say that the new bloodline wins. If it closes, it's harder to say that because it's Roman's first match since WrestleMania.
I believe that not only is KO going heel, I think KO and Orton are going heel together as a tag team. And I think that they, at some point, whether that match is in the beginning or that match is at the end, will come out and probably jump Cody and Roman.
Didn't we already talk about how we thought that KO and Orton were going to go heel?
I knew KO was. I didn't quite see Orton until Friday night when they were both side eyeing Cody when Cody came out to be the hero and was like, "There's three of us here, there's three of you," and KO's like, "No, you've got your shot at them before." And then even Randy was kind of looking at Cody like, "Yeah, motherfucker, we got this." You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I can see.
Yeah, it's interesting. It is interesting. But I still think I still think New Bloodline wins the match.
Yeah. And then, well, Bleacher Report has Rhodes and Reigns.
Rhodes
Then
and
we got-
Reigns? No.
Yep, that's who they got winning. And then we have
Oh, they have them winning.
yeah.
Oh.
Then we have the Hell in a Cell, CM Punk and Drew McIntyre. Now, they made it a point to say that Drew McIntyre has never won a Hell in a Cell, and they made this say a couple of times, which makes me think it's foreshadowing. And they're going to continue this feud. And I think that because Punk win last time with the strap.
He did. but he also lost the first match that they had.
So this is the
This
road
is
man
number
of the time, right?
3. So here's how I feel about it. WWE doesn't want to not come through on the promises,
Mm-hmm.
right? So CM Punk promised Drew McIntyre's going to bleed.
Mm-hmm.
Drew McIntyre's going to hurt.
But is Drew McIntyre going to lose?
But they never said that Drew McIntyre's going to lose.
Exactly.
Drew McIntyre said that he's going to make CM Punk bleed a lot. And he said, I think he even said he's going to steal his dog. and you sending me that video of Larry in the fucking like baby
Kid.
court, like the baby
Bianca
carriage.
Belair.
Like, I have a feeling Drew McIntyre is going to walk out with the dog at the end of the whole thing. Not really.
So who you got winning?
I think Drew McIntyre wins the match, but I think it's after CM Punk does everything he said. I think CM Punk is going to be the aggressor, which means I think that like more and more of the violence is going to be done from CM Punk's side.
Mm-hmm.
But Drew McIntyre is going to drape the arm over at the end of the Hell in a Cell match, 1, 2, 3. Drew McIntyre is going to win the match.
Got it.
But that way they can both say that they won the feud, even though I think that Drew McIntyre is going to be the actual winner of the match. What do you think?
Yeah, I think McIntyre's going to win the match. Like I said, I think because they've said it too many times that he's never won a Hell in a Cell match. I mean, he's going to
Well,
win.
it's not just that. Like you and I talked about this probably 2 months ago. That when this feud finally ends, like, where is CM Punk going to be in the WWE? And I don't know if you realize that he said this week in an Instagram post that he said sometimes it's time to go away, even if you don't want to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which basically implies he's implying that his time might be up. The other side of that is that I don't know how long CM Punk's contract currently is with WWE. And if you think about the time and the length and everything else, we are literally at 11 months since he showed up in WWE, which would mean Survivor Series would be his last moment. Or they could just say, well, he goes off into the sunset if they're not renewing the contract. Now, granted, do I think that they're not renewing the contract? God, no. He has been money since he showed up. You're gonna sit there and take that for everything it's worth. But I don't know how long the terms of the contract were, and I don't know, like unfortunately, he doesn't seem to have your standard WWE contract, because if he did, he'd have wrestled on fucking Raw already.
Mm.
And he hasn't at all. So ultimately, I think that once again, I still think Drew McIntyre wins the match based on everything. But I wanted to point out that whole thing of, remember, just about 4 months ago, we heard stories of CM Punk trying to renegotiate his contract. It could have been because when Nick Khan signed him, they signed him to a 1-year deal. He might not have a contract after this match. So maybe they make him go away. But if he did, he comes back at Royal Rumble. Like, don't fucking play with that. But the idea that he literally has only had like 3 matches since coming back to the WWE is a little bit weird in a fucking year. Am I wrong?
No.
Did you just change your background? What the fuck are you doing?
Lost interest. I got bored for a second.
I lost interest, so I started changing the background. Really? Like, I
No,
was
I'm
actually
teasing.
going through some real shit there.
You were. I was
You
just
just
playing.
didn't care.
No, I was messing with you. I mean, I agree with what you're saying. CM Punk has been money. I think they will renew. My question is, do they? Because he mentioned going for a title. B, I don't think CM Punk can go anywhere until he has that match with Seth. So
And
Seth
I
has to
think,
come back.
well, I think that's why he might disappear for a while after losing this match to Drew, while still being able to hold head up high because he made him bleed, he made him do
Mhm.
this, he made him do that. But then he shows up in the Royal Rumble and tosses Seth Rollins out.
Okay, I can see that.
And I think that's where we're headed.
Me too.
So you
I like it.
you think that the Hell in a Cell closes the show?
Yeah. I like Michael Turner's thing. He said Liv wins because Rodriguez comes back and helps Liv win and retain the title. Go up a few, Michael Turner. Possibility.
I
Because Rhea and Rodriguez do have history, and I think they might have had. So I think somebody got hurt. I think one of their feuds or
Raquel
whatever.
gotta be getting ready to come back, but then again, so does Charlotte.
I think Charlotte's going to be out longer. I think she's. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
she's.
the rumor is that her injury has put her out longer than expected. I get all that, but like, I just hope that when they bring Raquel back, and I'm okay with Raquel being part of the Judgment Day, by the way. I'm okay with having 2 women in the Judgment Day.
Mm-hmm.
And her look actually like makes sense for the Judgment Day.
She's Rhea.
Not exactly, but she's a good replacement.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, she's Rhea.
She's
Big, strong.
you know what like AEW is trying to do this right now with Mercedes and
Willow.
no.
What's his name? Sex wife.
Yes.
From NWA. I know you're talking about.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Raquel being the Diesel
The
to Liv
heater.
Morgan, Shawn Michaels actually is a very good play. Because Raquel is much larger than a lot of the other women in the division.
Mm-hmm.
So I see that being a possibility, and that's a Michael's saying that is a wonderful possibility. I completely agree, and I'm totally down for it. I just the issue I have with that is that Raquel, every time that they've tried to bring her back, they've tried to bring her back as a baby face, and that's part of me thinks that's where she fails, because she comes in and she speaks Spanish and she says chica, and before you know it, like, she loses a match, and then she's out for 6 months. So it's a tough sell, but if you do it right and you ever sit there and come in and actually beat Rhea down, it allows Liv to get out of the Rhea spotlight and suddenly have Raquel face Rhea while Liv moves on to something else. So I love it. I think it's a really good idea. I just don't know if you do it at this pay-per-view or a PLE, whatever.
Camille,
Or what's up?
sorry, Camille. It's driving me crazy.
Camille,
Camille.
yes. Or yeah, that just sounded like diarrhea in the mouth. You're like,
Yeah,
Camille.
it was driving me crazy. I was like, oh no.
I know. Like you weren't saying anything else. So I'm sitting here having this entire like dialogue, and then you're like, Camille. But yes, I agree. I agree completely. I agree completely. So do you think that there's a possibility that they start the show with the Hell in a Cell? And I know
It's
this
either, okay. If they
really isn't
if it
important.
if it kind of, if Roman starts the show, they'll end with Hell in a Cell. If they begin with Hell in a Cell, then we know that Roman's ended the show, right? So it's either going to be the first or the last match.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
Yeah.
It's either gonna be bum 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 bum
Mhm.
bum bum bum, or it's gonna be
And just and it'll take the same amount of time as them lowering the cage.
yeah, it's gonna be a 3.5 hour PLE, except it's gonna be a 3.5 hour PLE because it takes half an hour to lower the cage, takes half an hour for Roman to come into the ring. There's only 4 matches, but you know. Tino, anything else you really want to talk about?
No.
I do just really quickly want to reiterate this. And when I say really quickly, I want to point it out. Tino has a lot more experience with this type of stuff than I do, folks. If you're ever feeling like that you don't belong, either call the 1-800 number, or if you're in North Carolina, call 988. It's the Suicide and Crisis Hotline. It is very important to us that you do that because you are important to us. Now, buy my book on. I know it sounds so horrible. It sounds so horrible. Buy my book on Amazon. No, seriously though. I'm gonna keep this up there tonight. But Tino, go ahead, tell everybody how to reach you.
You can reach me on the Twitter at TweetFan91. You can reach us on Potsy with Potsy and Tino on Twitter, Potsy and Tino Show on Facebook. I'm also on the Insta SC Tino. You can find me on the TikTok, Tino Arbery Music. Um, you can find us each and every week right here on the Pots and Pan Network. Please like, subscribe, give us a thumbs up, buy our shit. As always, we want to say thank you to Adam's House Cats for the wrestling song. You can buy it on iTunes for 99 cents, 99 Jones. Go for it, Rob.
I'm sorry, I just read the last comment by Chris
Yeah,
Barrett. And,
I saw that.
and it tells me that I'm being selfless with my plug for my book. And I can't even. I wanted to, and I was like, I can't even click on it. But
Damn.
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 Exactly. Folks, seriously, if you feel like you're in trouble or anything else, call one of those numbers. If you feel like you're close enough to us, reach out to us. We will actually make sure that we listen to you, but we will also tell you to call those numbers. Instagram, you can reach me at Rob Pochak or Rob Potsy Pochak on TikTok, Twitch, and Snapchat. I believe it is Rob Potsy Pochak. On Twitter, it is Pochak. And with that, I think I am done. Tino, why don't you take us out?
Good night, everybody. See you next week.
Did you say Adam Southcat?
Yes, I already did all that.
Oh, did
You were laughing. You were laughing. You were laughing at Chris Barrett's thing.
I was. And with that, I am gonna go ahead and just say that we're gonna get out of here, and we'll see everybody next week. We love everybody.